Hello my mates, I'm Ralphie. Welcome to the Whiskey Bothy. Welcome to review number 1098. Extras, extra content, extra perspective, extra opinion and extra knowledge based on practical experience. So important that. Now, in this video, I'm going to briefly just chat about two really good single malts which I bought, and I've reviewed them both, and they're both Ardmore's, and so they're the same spirit from the same distillery. And I've reviewed this one, if you want to check out that review, in review number 1084, in which I gave it 89 out of 100, the highest mark I've given any whiskey review in 2025. This whiskey, another what we call a banger, because I've just reviewed it in review number 1098 from Little Brown Dog, independent bottlers. This one from the Decadent Drams independent bottlers. And the thing about the independent bottlers in Scotch whisky is that such is the incredible diversity, not just of flavour, but of sensation interactions: sweet, salt, sour, bitter, savoury. Salt, sour, bitter, savoury. Yeah, that's it, the 5 ones. I didn't miss any out. I thought I had briefly there. And independent bottlers have really helped to deliver to the customer, the informed whisky drinker, just how extraordinary different a single cask, one single cask, can make a whisky that we're sort of familiar with from official bottlings. So you could pick a distillery, any distillery. Let's take Glenfiddich, because everyone knows Glenfiddich. You can put Glenfiddich, a well-made spirit by any standard, into 12 different casks. Half of them could be bourbon, half of them could be sherry casks. And see, at the end of maturation, you have got 12 very different whiskies that used to be Glenfiddich New Make Spirit. And they've gone different directions, different flavours, and even seasoned professionals in the whisky industry in Scotland are still surprised about the weird and wonderful and extraordinary flavours and calibre of maturation they can get between one cask and another cask, sitting side by side in exactly the same warehouse from the moment they were actually filled with New Make Spirit. It's quite extraordinary, and there doesn't seem to be much narrative about that. But here we go. I've just poured 2 drams here, and they're both Ardmore. This is bottled at 53%. This one's bottled at 57.1%. So this is slightly stronger than this. This is 11 years old, and this is 15 years old. So the additional aging in the cask would account for the slightly lower alcoholic strength from the cask, because gradually and slowly over time the alcohol leaves the cask. It's called the Angel's Share. So here we have 2. This has been basically this. We'll start with a Little Brown Dog, right? Because I've just reviewed that. This one has been matured in a first fill ex-bourbon cask. The Decadent Drams has been matured longer, of course, 4 years longer, in a refill cask. Now, what this means is that because of the extra time in the cask, the level of giving from that cask into the spirit is actually a little bit more. So, in fact, the flavour in the 11-year-old is not that far away from the flavour in the 15-year-old, despite the fact that it's been in a refill cask. Because this one on the right here, on my right, that's my right, has had 4 extra years. And that's catch-up years. It's also been filled in a butt. And one of the reasons for that is to create airspace in the tank, basically. The wooden tank, that's what a butt is. In a wooden vessel. And in doing so, that oxygenation, that oxidization, helps to round off and basically bring character to the whisky. It sort of removes and kind of irons off the wrinkles of immaturity, because oxidization, which happens in all casks to a lesser or greater degree, is accelerated in this case. So what do we have? We've got 2 amazing whiskies. I gave this 89 out of 100. I gave this 86 out of 100. These are really high marks. Why have I done it? The authenticity of delivery of a great signature. That's it in a nutshell. Ardmore can make fantastic whiskies. But let me give you a warning here. If you were to try these 2 whiskies and then go into the supermarket, because there's a special offer on Ardmore Legacy, I assure you, at the 40% bottling strength of the Legacy, you're going to be really disappointed. But it gives you a chance to experiment, because you can take the basic standard cheapest available bottle and then you can top it up with a little bit of either one of these or both together, and you're going to be blending up that dram and substantially improving it, because both of these are high strength, and high strength has got a very simple interpretive meaning. It means that you're simply getting more ethanol in the bottle, and that ethanol, because there's more of it, has greater capacity to store complexity of the experience from the spirit and from the cask. I hope that makes sense to you. Time to taste. Let's get stuck in. Oh, I know. It's difficult for me. But someone has to take responsibility for delivering the finest single malts experience to you, malt mates, in review form. I'm doing my best. Bear with me. Fresh, zesty, grapefruit, soft vanilla, increasingly quite fragrant with high-end, what you would call this kind of more sparkling herb notes like mint, for example, garden mint. A little bit of sage in there as well, mild sage. When we explore these styles of bottlings, you cannot rush it. We have to consciously slow things down to half pace. These glasses do not get emptied in 15 minutes, because if you are doing that, you're wasting your money and wasting your time, and I'm just telling you because you need to know. Got to go slow here, nice and slow, a gentle, shuffling, pedestrian pace, and let the experience last over an hour. That's when you really start to get the fine tuning of the feedback onto your sense of smell and taste coming from this calibre of bottling. There's a lovely, sweet, almost cherry-like lozenge note coming from this. The zestiness of the peat in both drams is very good. It's what we expect from Ardmore. It's what Ardmore does so well, but unfortunately very few people seem to know about it. because the reputation tends to get locked down by their overly conventional official bottlings, which generally don't get a lot of traction because, unfortunately, they're a bit unexciting. I'm not saying they're bad whiskies, far from it, although the legacy will certainly give you a run for your money if you're looking for an immature, badly presented single malt. But these two are a different league, and our palate needs to be in a different league to appreciate it. And one of the things we need to do is start with the basics, start with the official bottlings to get the house style point of reference. And it's honestly only once we have that, we start to explore the independent bottlers who we will not find featured heavily in travel retail or in Amazon or in your local supermarket. Not even Costco will carry much stock in that terms. It's the specialist retailer. And what's happening around the world now, because there's more and more small independent bottlers appearing from out of Scotland, the availability of independent bottlings is increasing to meet demand. And this means that people like you and I go into the small independent high street specialist liquor retailers and we say, what do you have from the independent bottlers? And if they say nothing, we just look all disappointed and put on a sad face. Well, maybe I'll come back next month and see when they don't have a sale. And they know you know your whiskey, and they know you're a good customer, then there is a major incentive for them to start stocking independent bottlings. The thing about independent bottlers is they will provide samples to the retailers who can taste and try and be in a stronger position to advise and assist the customers. You don't get that in Amazon. This is quite important now because the primary reason that independent bottlers have been far stronger in Scotch whisky than, say, bourbon is because bourbon has been utterly dominated by very few corporate multinationals that just don't want to share the produce. Because it's business. And it's just treated as business. Also, the actual diverse flavour changes between specific brands of American bourbon isn't as dramatic and isn't as substantial as you have with Scotch whisky. And I'm not being prejudiced here. I'm just going to tell you plain the actual reason why. Because all American bourbon is matured in virgin American oak barrels by law, and therefore the conservative nature of cask policy has nowhere more stringent and absolute than it is with bourbon, whereas Scotch whisky is maturing in casks from all over the world, including virgin American oak casks, but also sherry casks, port casks, Madeira casks, Marsala casks, tequila casks, beer casks, cider casks, red wine casks, white wine casks, champagne casks. Far, far greater diversity of results. And this is where the independent bottlers who have got a foothold, and they have this at times uneasy relationship, where the big companies, when they need the extra cash, they can sell a batch of their product to the independent bottlers who will buy it up if the price is right, and they'll hold on to it, and they will work with the cask in a way that the official bottlers just don't want to do. They'll put it out there to a much smaller group of customers who understand what's going on, because we're all self-educated, and therefore we get it. when buying from independent bottlers, be careful what you buy. If you can taste and try before you buy, even better. At this stage, you'll find that the people who are successful at navigating independent bottlers, right across Europe in particular, are the people who are in whisky clubs and proactively going regularly to whisky festivals, and apart from having a really, really, really good time, they get to talk to the independent bottlers. And the independent bottlers want to sell the product, so they tell them over the table and over a pour what the good stuff is. And they know they've virtually sealed a sale. It's business. It's the way it works. And I have concluded my video. I don't want to be rumbling on for too long, malt mates. Not with all this beautiful whisky sitting here, wafting straight up my nose and demanding to be sipped yet again. Excuse me. So similar and yet so different. The biggest difference is up front at the arrival, and that's down to the casks. The experience is much more similar as we're heading into the development and the finish, and then these two single malts become much more familiar, much more similar. See you soon, malt mates.